that's the critical point at which most parents lose it. Every parent gets like that overboiled moment where they just lose it. It's like, everybody freeze, go to your rooms.
Yeah.
You can stop that from happening by having this structure and the clarity with your kids.
Smart money parenting.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Smart Money Parenting. Coming to you again with some simple topics to help you as parents be rock stars with your kids and raise financially competent value creators that are smart, not spoiled. I got my buddy Chad. How's it going, Chad?
Today we are cracking down on something that I think is pretty exciting, Scott. Ambiguity adds anxiety and clarity creates confidence. And that's what we're going to be really diving into today. I'm excited what parents are going to learn. So this is going to be fun.
When the rules and the system is ambiguous,
Right.
it creates problems. It creates anxiousness in kids. When the training isn't right, when the system isn't set, when the expectations aren't right, kids get nervous. They don't know what's expected of them. It can cause frustration. It can cause both anxiousness in the kids, but also in the parents, right? I think so often, and I've experienced this recently, right? Like we got these 4 little beautiful, amazing kids that when the
New baby,
systems,
by the way, beautiful new baby. Congratulations.
beautiful new baby, month old, just turned a month old, Lincoln.
It's awesome.
And he might not fall into this one yet because he's still trying to keep his eyes open. But with the other kids, we're starting to see like, oh yeah, when we debrief, a kid going nuts, right? Or everybody going nuts all at once, like last night around dinner. I mean, really, one of the kids just started like my 2-year-old ripped off his diaper because he's like refuses to wear it because he's convinced that he knows how to he's potty trained when he's not. He's peeing on
Right.
things. So we're debriefing at the end of the night, and it's like we didn't set up the system right? Like the training wasn't there, the expectations weren't there. It was ambiguous in some of our younger kids. And what we're not saying is be militaristic, right? With everything. We don't want you to be that way in the home, so rigid, so structured, so where you kill creativity. You don't want to do that. Like we want it to be a fun, loving, joyful home and allow kids to be creative and be fun and have special time and playtime and whatnot. But when you lack clarity, it creates anxiety all over the map. So that's what we want to talk about today. What in your home is like, how are you balancing that line, Chad?
I think what's important to us as parents, and we've got 5 kids for those of you who haven't heard us talk before, but the clarity creates confidence. When kids know what's expected of them, they have confidence that they know where they're headed. It's almost like, I'm not a huge board gamer, but my wife loves like board games, and like they love on date nights to get a big group together after the date and like play games. And I think imagine, sometimes there's games that everyone else knows how to play and I've never played it. And it's like, all right, guys, we're going to play such and such game. And somebody's just rushing through the rules, or, I don't really totally understand what we're about to play. And it's like, dude, I don't even want to play this game right now. Like, I don't, at least give some clarity on how you win, what the rules are, what's going on here. And I think that's the same thing with parenting, is that smart money parents are going to be very clear with their kids, their values, the rules. Like my older 2 kids have a curfew of 11 o'clock. It's very clear. If I had no curfew for them and they came home at 1 a.m. or at 11:30, there's no standard by which to say, I'm upset you broke the rules, or, hey, what happened? Like we're just ambiguously saying, hey, come home safely. Like we don't have any clarity. I think saying, hey, the curfew is 11 o'clock. If for some reason you're going to be out later than that, and you need to ask for permission, you have to actually communicate by 10 o'clock. And so my kids know they have to call or text me by 10 o'clock at night and say, hey, Dad, we're at a friend's house. We're starting a movie with a big group of people, or we're getting in the jacuzzi. And there's clarity around that. And so we understand each other and there's communication. We've set up a system. But I think the more clear we are, kids can act with confidence, and they can build. You need structure, You shouldn't have just like a free reign, do whatever you want kind of a household, but
Right.
structure creates confidence, and then let them within the structure be themselves, be creative, be free roaming. But the, like you said earlier, being ambiguous about everything and thinking that's the good way to parent, I think you create a lot of problems, a lot of anxieties, because no one really knows what's okay and what's not okay. It kind of depends on what kind of mood mom is in, or what mood dad is in. I think
Yeah.
that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And there's not much margin, especially with younger kids. Like on my side, you and I get to have like, you've got the teenagers, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. But
Yep, that's a good
I'm on
one.
the younger side where we're just trying to set structure, right?
Right.
Like we
Right.
have to have a morning routine. Like it's like, hey, before you leave your room, it's like you're brushing teeth, you're getting dressed, your room is clean, your bed is made, you're ready for the day, right? Then
Yep.
it's like their morning like devotion, then we do breakfast, like it's structure. And then after school, it's, this is clean, this homework's done, you're washing hand, like literally our younger kids, like you're coming inside and washing your hands, putting your
Right.
shoes where they're supposed to go. Like it's just, you have to have structure. Without that, it's chaos. And once that's done, you're able to have more of the creativity and more of the fun play and more of just like the fun wild side that all kids need anyway, right? When they go in the backyard, go wild, go do
Right.
whatever you want to
Right.
do, as long as the mess gets cleaned up before dinner, let's have fun,
Yep.
let's
Yep.
make it a blast. And without that, I think it's just Lord of the Flies. And then parents, but at the back end of that, you've got a lot of these parents in kind of the free range camp
Yep.
where and I understand the idea of the free range parent. The free range parent's like, I want my kid to be creative and solve problems, and I want to let them run, and some maybe get hurt, and like, but at the same time, I get the benefits of it. But the drawback is without that structure, it's chaos. And then kids can really struggle if you come down on them, but you haven't had the setup and the structure in place, then it can create this rift, right? It can really burn out the parent really quickly.
Well, my second child, Pierce, he just turned 16. He's getting his driver's license soon. He's got his permit. And we've had the conversation. We're practice driving, going around town. And I said, like, Pierce, you and your siblings sometimes get bothered at the rules or the standards that mom and I give. We have guidelines and things and expectations. And you guys sometimes feel like it's restricting, but there's always a reason behind the things that we tell you. Like we care about you, we want you to have fun, but there are rules and guidelines, and we're going to be very clear about them. Imagine if here you are driving in mom's big SUV, right? And there's no stoplights and no stop signs, and there's no yellow lines dividing traffic going one way versus the other way, and there's no traffic rules, there's no speed limits, there's nothing. Like, hey, we just want to be free range, we just want to let you guys explore and have a great time on the road and just do your own thing. Like, imagine the chaos. And he got a huge smile on his face and he was like, that would be scary. And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
it would be scary because people be crashing all over the place on the road. And that's the same thing. I believe what we're talking about today is in our homes as parents, we're not perfect, but let's have some clarity and some guidelines, and then within that, we're going to allow for a lot of creativity and stuff. But if you're completely ambiguous, it's almost like having a city with no stoplights and no speed limits and no lines painted on the streets. It's
Yeah.
dangerous and it's total chaos. And there's a lot of anxiety to drive in your car.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say this too. Our friend Chad Johnson talks about this. Most discipline stems from a lack of training, from a lack of clarity, right?
What do you mean by discipline? Because sometimes, discipline is a good thing if you have discipline. So maybe
Right.
clarify that
I
for me.
don't mean discipline as in structure. You want a disciplined, structured
Right.
family. I mean,
You mean like consequences, like getting in trouble?
yes.
Got it. Yeah.
Like
Punishments. Yeah.
when parents, lose it, it's
Right.
mostly because it's boiled over, right? Their
Right.
margin is gone. Their, peace of mind is gone. There's multiple kids just going nuts or screaming. Like we had this morning, my 2-year-old bit my 6-year-old. Okay. Just chaos everywhere. And we realize very quickly that it stems from a lack of structure and training. And so Chad Johnson talks about this a lot, these family boot camps, which are definitely in the Value Creation Kid book we just launched. But it's critical to talk about, how does our family clean a room? How does our family prep for a meal? How does our family go to the grocery store? How does our family pack and unpack from a trip? How do we act when we are at someone else's house? Go through the motions, show them the right behavior, model it for them, do it together. We just launched, the Gravy Stack app, the banking investing app for kids that you and I have been working on for 2 years plus now. It's about to hit the world. And we're getting questions from our beta parents that are like, hey, this is brilliant. We have our expectations in the home of what we expect for the kids. We have the expenses that they're going to start to cover, and we have their ways to earn extra pay and create value around the house. It's a brilliant vision, if that makes sense. But then the parents are like, yeah, my kid tried to go clean the garage and it was a train wreck. My kid they went to try to clean a bathroom and it was dirtier than when they started. It's that it was ambiguous expectations. The first time you do a home gig with a kid, or you set up their expectations of what they're supposed to do, you've got to do it with them. You've got to show them what the definition of done looks like.
That's so good.
And the same thing is true with homework. The definition of done well, the stamp of approval of someone that has our last name is this. You've got to, the first couple times with all of your kids, it doesn't matter the age or what you're doing. You have to walk it through with them and show them like all the little things so like with our kids, we're starting to work on even, 4 and 6 years old. What does it mean to clean the bathroom? We have to show them like what it looks like on the toilet, where you clean on the toilet. This brown is bad. Go under the corner. You've got to spray on top, because if you use the thing that goes in the toilet to try to clean the seat, you're going to move all those germs around, and it's disgusting. Like, they don't get that part. So really walking them through it, like one-on-one, explaining all the reasons why. Once they connect the why, then they understand the how. So you've got to just walk it through with your kids. Cooking a meal, like, hey, you don't just throw your dishes in the sink. Put any extra food in the trash. Then you scrub off the dish, and then you're going to throw it put it right here in the dishwasher. Silverware here, cups here, plates here. Then you've just made mom and dad's life a lot easier. You have to just set those expectations with the kids. And if it ever gets off track, you do another boot camp, right? That is clarity, right?
Big time clarity.
And that creates confidence and capability. That's the goal of a smart money parent. And really, like, if we want to relate this back to financial training for our kids, they need to understand step by step what value creation is, right? Like this is how smart, not spoiled kid acts, right? This is how we act with our finances. This is how we act with our chores. This is how we act when people come to our home. This is how we treat the things in our lives with care to create value. That's a piece that so many parents miss. They expect their 10-year-old to know exactly what they've seen for the last 40 years, right? On how to do something the right way. We have to get our hands dirty and train them step by step in the way they should go. That's what we're saying here. And that creates the confidence rather than ambiguity, anxiety, all the issues that parents deal with, that then turns into frustration, turns into stress, turns into exhaustion. It turns into too much punishment, and then that's the critical point at which most parents lose it. You know what I'm talking about, Chad. Every parent gets like that overboiled moment where they just lose it. It's like, everybody freeze. Go to your rooms, like freeze. You can stop that from happening by having this structure and the clarity with your kids.
Yeah, I think, Scott, you're spot on. Our kids rotate family helpers. One of it's sweeping the floors in the kitchen. One of it is the dishes. One of it's set the table. One of it's the trash. And these are just their expectations that are for the family, not their own helpers in the house. But it was our 7-year-old's turn to set the table. And I was like, hey, bud, it's your turn. You got to set the table. And he set the table. And it was like, hey, where are the napkins and the forks? Or not the napkins and the forks, the napkins and the knives. I was like, we need napkins and knives, bud. He's like, oh, he thought he set the table. And obviously that was my bad. We had to go over it from square one. Like, this is what it looks like. Here's the napkin. Here's where you put the fork. Here's the knife and spoon. Here's the plate. Here's all the stuff you need to set up, fill up the cups. Like, until I gave him that clarity, he thought he did a good job and he just hadn't done the work. Oftentimes, I think as parents, we're passing the baton like in a relay race and we're chucking the baton. We're throwing it at the kid, we're throwing it at our spouse, and there's not clarity in making that handoff secure. And that's something that I've learned in business over time, that delegation has to come with a lot of clarity. Entrepreneurs like us often are just moving and we're on the go, like new ideas. And so we're chucking the baton and we grab another baton, we chuck it to someone else. And it's like they've got ambiguity and anxiety about, what does Scott or what does Chad want me to do in this role or this task? And it's no different than parenting. We can literally hand the baton off with clarity the first time, and the kid will run faster with more confidence because that handoff was done properly. And I believe what we're saying today is, any area where you've got that frustration between you and your spouse or you and your children, I bet there's some ambiguity there. Maybe there's just misaligned expectations, or there's just not enough clarity on what you each expect. And the more clarity we have, the more confidence we have in moving forward and making decisions. And we're going to have a much happier, calmer home when we can have communication with clarity.
Yeah. And I remember this quote from last week when we were together in Chicago. Lee Brower, one of the coaches of Strategic Coach, we were talking through systematic growth in the company. And his point was, experience capture hastens operations. It's called ECHO, ECHO. Experience capture hastens operations. When you're capturing the experience clearly with the team, you're putting everything into protocols and strategies, it hastens the operational flow. And the point that really stuck out to me was this comment that he made. He said 85% of the results come from the first 15% of the process. That is true in business and family. With your kids, 85% of the value that's created, of the results, come from that first 15% of setting up the right process, really clarifying what the process looks like so that it can be systematized, right?
The foundation, basically setting the foundation from the very beginning.
That's 85% of the value created. That's 85%
Wow.
of the results. That's 85% less stress on the parents when it
Right.
comes to it. Kids, we talked about this last week. Kids are assets, not liabilities. Yes, there's a $300,000 price tag on raising a kid these days, according to the media.
Yeah.
But smart money parents, they see their kids as an incredible asset in the home. Their kids are a benefit. They're not just a blessing. They're a benefit. They can help. They can really help you with your life. They can help in the home. They can help each other. They can really set up structure that creates that.
Everyone is a team member in the family. Everyone's a teammate. Everyone's a team member. I always say that, like, guys, let's think about the number on the back, or the name on the back of the jersey. Like, we're all on the same team here. It's us against the problem, not us against each other. So let's figure out how to work this out as a team. I like to use sports analogies. My kids all play sports, as you know, Scott. So it's always like, hey, we're a team. If we've got a challenge, we keep it in the locker room and we talk about it together, and then we go out on the court and we play hard together as a team.
That's good. That's so good, man. Well, I think we covered a lot. I know the Gravy Stack app is coming out by the time this airs. We should be having the first run in here, but it's important, I think, for families to know that it's not just a banking app. We have the home economy built into it. That's why it's taken so long. If you just want a debit card for your kids and a bank account, we could have had that 2 years ago. But what we're really creating is a system for creating value and creating clarity in your home. So it's not ambiguous. So it's not anxiety ridden. We want to give you the right home economy. And that's what Gravy Stack is doing. So I think we actually have a new link, Chad. They gave us gravystack.com/smart.
Perfect.
And that's where people can go that listen to the show if they want to get this with their family and their kids, ages 6 to 18, 8 to 18. But really, if you have kids under 18, this is the spot.
gravystack.com/smart.
Smart.
What you're
Yep.
saying. Yep.
Like Smart Money
Okay.
Parenting. That's going to be our link for everyone to go to. They'll get some extra stuff there and they can sign up for the app. We're just really excited to help you guys systematize value creation in the home. Like we're helping give you that roadmap to help kids become smart, not spoiled. Okay. That's our books. That's what we care about. And we really are thankful for how it's helping families already. We'll be telling you guys more about our feedback here in a little bit, but that's the goal. Ambiguity creates anxiety, but clarity creates confidence. And that's what we want for you guys as Smart Money Parents. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to ask us a question, go to the website, Smart Money Parenting. You can follow Chad and I on socials where we're throwing you all this content every week. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great one. We'll see you guys.
It takes more than money if you want to succeed. You gotta know what to do with it. You gotta take the lead. You gotta give them confidence. You gotta make them smart. If your kids are gonna thrive, now's the time to start. Smart money parenting.